The Galactic, dangerous ship came to intimidate. In the face of doom, humanity laughed. The Nexus Dreadnought materialized above Earth like a nightmare-given form. 20 kilometers of twisted black metal and bone, its hull adorned with the skulls of 1,000 extinct species. It blocked out the sun over 3 continents, casting Earth into an artificial twilight that should have sent every human running for shelter. Instead, somebody started a live stream. "Okay, chat," said Tyler Voss, a 23-year-old college student from Portland, pointing his phone camera at the massive alien ship. "This is either the coolest special effects ever, or we're about to get Independence Day. Either way, I'm getting those views." Within minutes, #alien invasion was trending worldwide. Admiral Zektar of the Hegemony's 47th Terror Fleet stood 7 feet tall, his chitinous black armor gleaming under the bridge lights of the Nexus Dreadnought. For 800 years, he had brought the Hegemony's message to primitive worlds: surrender or face extinction. His ship was a masterpiece of psychological warfare, designed to break the spirit of entire civilizations before a single shot was fired. "Target acquired," reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Vexenal. "Primitive world, single habitable planet, population approximately 8 billion. They haven't achieved faster than light travel yet." "Perfect." Zektar clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. Another easy conquest. Begin the intimidation protocol. The Nexus Dreadnought's massive communication array activated, broadcasting on every frequency the humans used. Zektar's voice boomed across Earth, translated into every language simultaneously. "Creatures of the third planet," his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "I am Admiral Zektar of the Hegemony. You have been selected for absorption into our empire. You have 72 hours to surrender your government, your resources, and your freedom. Resist, and your species will be erased from existence." The Admiral waited for the familiar sounds of panic, the desperate pleas for mercy, the collapse of civilization that always followed his ultimatum. Instead, he heard something that made his blood freeze. Laughter. Not just a few voices, but millions. The sound echoed across the planet's communication networks, growing louder by the minute. Humans were laughing at the most terrifying announcement in galactic history. "Sir," Lieutenant Vexenal's voice was uncertain. "The humans they're making jokes about us." "Jokes?" Zektar's voice went dangerously quiet. "Yes, sir. They've created something called memes about our ship. Look at this." The main screen flickered to life, showing a series of images humans were sharing across their networks. One showed the Nexus Dreadnought with cartoon eyes drawn on it. Another was a photo of a human child making a face at the camera with text that read, "When the aliens come to destroy Earth, but you haven't finished your homework yet." Zektar stared at the screen in disbelief. Are they mocking us?" "It appears so, sir. Someone has also created a song about our arrival. It's called Space Invaders Got No Game, and it's been downloaded 7 million times in the past hour." On Earth, the human response was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. While most species would have been paralyzed with terror, humans did what they always did when faced with the impossible. They adapted. Dr. Skylar Lee, a quantum physicist at MIT, was busy analyzing the energy readings from the alien ship when her colleague, Dr. Brian O'Sullivan, burst into her lab. "Skylar, you need to see this," he said, pulling up data on his tablet. "I've been monitoring the electromagnetic signatures from that thing up there." And Skylar didn't look up from her calculations. "It's not what it seems. The ship is putting out massive amounts of energy, but most of it is going to non-essential systems. It's like, imagine if someone built a tank, but instead of armor and weapons, they focused on making it look scary and sound intimidating." Skylar finally looked up, her dark eyes sharp with interest. "You're saying it's mostly for show?" "I'm saying this ship is built to terrify primitive civilizations into surrender. But against anyone who actually fights back, I think it might be vulnerable." Skylar's fingers flew across her keyboard, running new calculations. "Brian, if you're right about this, I know, we need to get this information to the right people." Across the planet, similar realizations were occurring. Military strategists were analyzing the ship's structure, engineers were studying its energy patterns, and computer scientists were trying to understand its communication systems. But the most important reaction was happening in the streets, in homes, in the hearts of ordinary people. Humans were getting angry. Commander Jessica Liu stood in the Pentagon's war room, surrounded by screens showing global military readiness. As the highest-ranking officer in the Space Force, she had spent her career preparing for this moment. But nothing had prepared her for humanity's response to the crisis. "Status report," she said calmly. "Ma'am," replied Colonel Antoine Davis, "every military installation worldwide is reporting combat readiness. But that's not the interesting part." "Go on." "The civilians, ma'am, they're not running, they're organizing. We've got reports of neighborhood watch groups forming alien defense committees. Scientists are sharing research on social media. Hell, there's a group of teenagers in Tokyo who claim they're building EMP devices to mess with the alien ship's electronics." Jessica allowed herself a small smile. "And our assessment of the threat?" "Dr. Lee's team at MIT has shared some interesting data." Davis pulled up a holographic display of the alien ship. "The energy distribution suggests this thing is more bark than bite. It's designed to intimidate, not to fight a real war." "Then we're going to give it a real war," Jessica said. "Get me a direct line to world leaders. It's time to show these aliens what happens when you threaten Earth." On the Nexus Dreadnought, Admiral Zektar was experiencing something foreign to his species: confusion. Reports were flooding in from his surveillance systems, showing human activity that defied all his understanding of how conquered species should behave. "Sir," reported his intelligence officer, "the humans are not behaving according to any known pattern. Instead of hiding, they are gathering in large groups. Instead of surrendering, they are celebrating." "Celebrating?" Zektar's voice was sharp. "Yes, sir. They have declared something called Alien Invasion Day and are holding festivals in major population centers. They are selling food, playing music, and taking photographs with our ship in the background." Zektar pulled up the surveillance feeds on his main screen. What he saw made no sense. Humans were indeed gathering in massive crowds, but they weren't cowering in terror. They were having parties. In New York, someone had set up a massive screen to show the alien ship, and thousands of humans were watching it like it was entertainment. In London, street vendors were selling t-shirts with pictures of the Nexus Dreadnought and slogans like, "I survived the alien invasion. So far." "This is impossible," Zektar muttered. "Fear is universal. All intelligent species respond to superior force with submission." "Perhaps," suggested Lieutenant Vexenol hesitantly, "these humans are not intelligent." Before Zektar could respond, his communications officer spoke up. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planet. It's a message for you personally. Put it through." The main screen flickered, showing a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. She was sitting calmly in what looked like a command center, and she was smiling. "Greetings," she said. "I'm Commander Jessica Liu of the United Earth Defense Force. I believe you're the one threatening our planet?" Zektar leaned forward. Finally, a human leader showing proper respect by acknowledging his authority. "Yes, I am Admiral Zektar. You have 72 hours to surrender, or what?" Jessica interrupted, her smile widening. "You'll blow up some rocks to scare us? We've been watching your ship for hours, Admiral. We know what it really is." "What do you mean?" Zektar's voice was dangerous. "Your ship is designed to intimidate primitive civilizations. It's all show, no substance. You've been traveling the galaxy for centuries, bullying people who are too afraid to fight back. But here's the thing about humans, Admiral. We don't really do afraid." Zektar felt something cold settle in his stomach. "You dare?" "I dare because I have to," Jessica said simply. "You came to our home and threatened our families. That was your first mistake. Your second mistake was assuming we'd be too scared to fight back." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Nexus Dreadnought in stunned silence. "Sir?" Vexenol said quietly. "What are your orders?" Zektar stared at the blank screen, then at the planet below. For the first time in his long career, he wasn't sure what to do next. The answer came sooner than he expected. "Sir," the weapons officer's voice was urgent. We're detecting multiple launches from the planet's surface. Hundreds of projectiles heading our way. Nuclear weapons? Zektar asked. Yes, sir, but... The officer paused, studying his readings. They're not aimed at us. They're aimed at the space around us. Zektar frowned. What do you mean? They're going to detonate in a grid pattern around our ship. It's like they're trying to create some kind of energy field. On Earth, Dr. Skylar Lee was putting the finishing touches on humanity's response to the alien threat. Working with scientists from around the world, she had developed a plan that was equal parts brilliant and insane. Final systems check, she called out to her team. Brian, how are the calculations looking? Perfect, Dr. O'Sullivan replied. If we're right about their ship's energy distribution, this should work. And if we're wrong, then we'll be the first humans to accidentally start an interstellar war. Skylar took a deep breath. Well, at least we'll make it interesting. Initiate the sequence. Around the world, nuclear missiles launched from submarines, silos, and mobile platforms. But these weren't weapons of destruction. They were components of the most ambitious scientific experiment in human history. The missiles detonated in a precise pattern around the alien ship, creating a network of electromagnetic pulses that interacted with the ship's own energy field. The result was something that had never been attempted before, a planet-wide communications hack. What did you do? Zektar demanded as his ship's systems flickered and changed. We hacked your intimidation system, came Jessica Liu's voice over the comm. You see, Admiral, your ship is designed to project fear into the minds of your targets, but we figured out how to reverse that connection. Instead of you projecting into our minds, we're projecting into yours. Zektar felt it then, something alien and strange filling his consciousness. Not fear, but something else. Something warm and defiant and utterly human. Hope. What is this? He gasped. It's humanity, Jessica said. You wanted to show us fear? Let us show you what we're really made of. Suddenly, Zektar's mind was flooded with human experiences. He felt the determination of a single mother working 3 jobs to support her children. He experienced the courage of firefighters running into burning buildings to save strangers. He felt the love of friends who would die for each other, the defiance of people who stood up to bullies, the hope of those who believed in a better tomorrow even when everything seemed hopeless. But most of all, he felt humanity's greatest weapon, their refusal to surrender. Stop, Zektar whispered, but the flood of human emotion continued. He saw humans facing impossible odds and fighting anyway. He saw them making jokes in the face of death, singing songs during their darkest hours, and never, ever giving up. He saw a species that had turned their entire planet into a weapon, not of destruction, but of inspiration. Around the galaxy, other hegemony ships were experiencing the same phenomenon. The network of communications that had once spread fear now carried something far more dangerous, the human spirit. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, alien slaves who had worked in darkness for centuries suddenly heard something they had never experienced. Humans singing songs of freedom. The music carried across the planet's communication networks, and for the first time in generations, the slaves remembered what it felt like to hope. In the prison camps of Proxima Centauri, political prisoners heard human voices talking about rights and dignity, and the idea that all beings deserve to be free. The guards tried to shut down the communications, but it was too late. The prisoners had heard enough. On the military stations throughout the galaxy, hegemony soldiers were experiencing something that challenged everything they had been taught. They were feeling the emotions of humans who believed that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Admiral Zektar collapsed to his knees on the bridge of the Nexus Dreadnought, overwhelmed by the sheer force of human determination. His crew looked on in shock as their commander, who had conquered hundreds of worlds, was brought low by the simple power of human hope. Sir? Vexnall approached cautiously. Are you... I can feel them, Zektar whispered. All of them. Every human on that planet. They're not afraid. They're angry. And they're not going to surrender. Sir? Zektar looked up at his crew, seeing them with new eyes. For the first time, he wondered if what they had been doing was right. For the first time, he questioned whether the hegemony's way was the only way. Lieutenant Vexenal, he said slowly, in your opinion, what makes a being worthy of freedom? The question caught his second-in-command off guard. Sir, I don't understand. These humans, Zektar gestured at the planet below, they believe that freedom is a right, not a privilege. They believe it so strongly that they're willing to die for it. In 800 years of conquest, I have never encountered a species that refused to surrender. Sir, they're just being foolish. They can't possibly defeat us. Can't they? Zektar asked. They've already done something I thought was impossible. They've made me doubt. The communication system crackled to life again. This time, it wasn't just Commander Lu's voice. It was hundreds of human voices from every corner of the planet. Admiral Zektar, they said in unison, we have a proposition for you. Speak, Zektar said. You came here to make us surrender, but we think you're fighting the wrong war. Look around your galaxy, Admiral. How many species have you conquered? How many worlds have you enslaved? How many beings live in fear because of the hegemony? Zektar didn't answer, but he knew the numbers. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds. We can't defeat your entire empire, the human voices continued, but we can offer you something better than conquest. We can offer you a choice. What choice? The choice to be better than what you are. The choice to stop being the thing that others fear and start being the thing that others hope for. Zektar felt that strange human emotion again. Hope. It was terrifying and wonderful at the same time. What are you proposing? An alliance. Commander Lu's voice came through clearly. Not surrender, not conquest, partnership. We share our technology, our knowledge, our culture. In return, you help us free the beings you've enslaved. Together, we can build something better than an empire built on fear. And if I refuse, then you'll have to fight us, the human voices said simply. And we'll fight back. We'll fight until every human is dead, because that's what humans do. We don't surrender, we don't give up, we don't bow to tyrants. Zektar stood slowly, looking around his bridge at his crew. He could see the same doubt in their eyes that he felt in his heart. Admiral, Vexenal said quietly, what are your orders? For 800 years, Zektar had known exactly what to do in every situation. Intimidate, conquer, enslave, but now, for the first time, he wasn't sure. I need time to consider, he said finally. Take all the time you need, Jessica Lu said, but while you're thinking, let me show you something. The main screen flickered to life, showing images from around Earth. Humans were still gathering in massive crowds, but now they were doing something different. They were holding signs, not signs of surrender, but signs of welcome. Aliens welcome, terms and conditions apply. Make peace, not war. The universe is big enough for all of us. Freedom for all beings. You see, Admiral, Jessica said, we're not just offering you a choice, we're offering your entire empire a choice. Freedom or slavery, hope or fear, the future or the past. Zektar stared at the images, feeling something he had never experienced before. For the first time in his life, he was seeing beings who were not afraid of him, and instead of making him feel powerful, it made him feel small. I need to speak with my crew, he said finally. Of course, but Admiral? While you're deciding, remember this. Humans have a saying. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good beings to do nothing. The question is, what kind of being do you want to be? The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Sir, Vexenal said carefully, the crew is requesting permission to speak freely. Zektar nodded. Granted. Sir, we've been monitoring communications from across the galaxy. The human transmission has reached every hegemony world. There are reports of unrest. What kind of unrest? Rebellion, sir, on dozens of worlds. Slaves are refusing to work. Prisoners are demanding their freedom. Even some of our own forces are questioning orders. Zektar felt a chill run down his spine. How many ships? At last count, sir, 47 hegemony vessels have gone silent. We believe they may have defected. 47 ships. In less than a day, the humans had done what centuries of rebellion had failed to accomplish. They had made the hegemony's own forces question their purpose. And the High Command? They're ordering us to destroy the human planet immediately, sir. They say the contamination must be stopped before it spreads further. Zektar looked at the planet below, at the 8 billion humans who had refused to surrender. He thought about the choice they had offered him, freedom or slavery, hope or fear. Sir, Vexnal prompted, your orders? For 800 years, Admiral Zektar had followed orders without question. He had conquered, enslaved, and terrorized in the name of the hegemony. But now, feeling the warmth of human hope in his heart, he realized that he had never made a choice. He had only followed orders. Lieutenant Vexnal, he said slowly, how many beings have we enslaved? Sir? In our 800 years of service, how many beings have we personally enslaved? Vexnal looked uncomfortable. I don't know the exact number, sir. Millions, certainly. Millions, Zektar repeated. Millions of beings who wanted nothing more than to live their lives in peace, and we took that from them. Sir, we were following orders. We were serving the hegemony. Were we? Zektar asked. Or were we just too afraid to make a different choice? He stood up, decision crystallizing in his mind. Open a channel to the planet. Yes, sir. Commander Lu's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but determined. Admiral, she said, have you made your decision? I have, Zektar said. But first, I need to ask you something. Why? Why did you offer us a choice instead of just fighting? Jessica was quiet for a moment. Because that's what humans do, Admiral. We believe that everyone deserves a chance to be better than they are. We believe that even the worst person can change if they're given the opportunity. And if we choose to continue as we are, then we'll fight you with everything we have, and we'll lose probably. But we'll make sure the galaxy remembers that there was once a species that refused to surrender. Zektar felt something warm settle in his chest. Hope. Real, genuine hope for the first time in his life. Commander Lu, he said formally, on behalf of the crew of the Nexus Dreadnought, I accept your offer of alliance. The silence on the bridge was deafening. Furthermore, Zektar continued, we will assist you in broadcasting your message to every corner of the galaxy. It's time for the beings of the universe to remember what freedom feels like. Vexnal stepped forward. Sir, the High Command will consider this treason. Then let them, Zektar said. I have spent 800 years serving fear. I would like to spend whatever time I have left serving hope. On Earth, Jessica Lu smiled. Welcome to the Resistance, Admiral. 3 months later, the galaxy was unrecognizable. The hegemony, which had ruled through fear for over 1,000 years, was crumbling. World after world declared independence. Entire fleets of hegemony ships defected to what was now called the Free Galaxy Alliance. The virus of human hope had spread to every corner of known space. Admiral Zektar stood on the bridge of the Nexus Dreadnought, but it was no longer a weapon of terror. It had been converted into a hospital ship, carrying medical supplies and hope to worlds that had been enslaved for centuries. Sir, Vexnal reported, we're receiving a transmission from the Liberation Fleet at Kepler 442b. Put it through. The screen showed a being Zektar recognized as one of the slave species they had conquered decades ago. But now, instead of fear in his eyes, there was something else. Gratitude. Admiral Zektar, the being said, I wanted to thank you. My people are free for the first time in 2 centuries. We're learning to remember what hope feels like. Thank the humans, Zektar replied. They taught us all what freedom means. We have, the being said, but we wanted to thank you too, for making the choice to be better than what you were. After the transmission ended, Zektar stood quietly on his bridge, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Jessica Lu was coordinating the liberation of another world. Somewhere else, humans were teaching former slaves how to build their own governments. Across the galaxy, billions of beings were experiencing freedom for the first time. Sir, Vexnal said quietly, Do you ever regret it? Giving up the Empire? Zektar thought about the question. He thought about the power he had once wielded, the fear he had commanded, the absolute authority he had possessed. No, he said finally. I regret that it took me 800 years to realize that there was a better way. And what way is that, sir? Zektar smiled, an expression that would have been impossible for him just months before. The human way. The way of hope. On Earth, Jessica Liu stood in the same command center where she had first spoken to the alien admiral. But now, instead of preparing for invasion, she was coordinating the liberation of an entire galaxy. Status report, she said. Ma'am, Colonel Davis replied, we've received confirmation that the hegemony capital world has surrendered. The last of their forces have either defected or been captured. The war is over. Jessica nodded. And the liberated worlds? Adjusting to freedom, ma'am. It's difficult for some of them. They've been enslaved for so long that they've forgotten how to make their own choices. We'll help them remember, Jessica said. That's what we do. Ma'am, there's something else. We're receiving a transmission from Admiral Zektar. Put him through. The familiar face of the former hegemony admiral appeared on the screen. He looked older, but happier than Jessica had ever seen him. Commander Liu, he said, I wanted to give you the final report. The last hegemony prison camp has been liberated. Every slave in the galaxy is now free. Thank you, Admiral. You and your crew have done incredible work. We had good teachers, Zektar replied. Commander, I have a question for you. Yes? What happens now? The galaxy is free, but freedom is not the same as peace. There will be conflicts, disagreements, wars perhaps. How do we maintain what we've built? Jessica was quiet for a moment, thinking about the question. We do what humans have always done, Admiral. We try to be better tomorrow than we were today. We help each other. We never stop believing that things can improve. And if we fail, then we try again. That's the thing about hope, Admiral. It doesn't give up. Zektar nodded. I'm beginning to understand why the hegemony could never conquer humanity. You're not just a species, you're an idea. And ideas are the most powerful force in the universe. Maybe, Jessica said, but we're also just people trying to do the right thing. And now we have an entire galaxy of people helping us do it. As the transmission ended, Jessica looked out at the stars through her command center window. Somewhere out there, beings who had been slaves were learning to be free. Somewhere else, former enemies were working together to build a better future. Across the galaxy, hope was spreading like wildfire. It had all started with a simple human response to an impossible threat. When faced with the most terrifying force in the galaxy, humans had done what they always did. They had laughed. And in that laughter, they had found the strength to change everything. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly how humanity liked it. In the end, the hegemony had been right about one thing. Humans were dangerous, but not in the way they had expected. Humans weren't dangerous because they were strong or smart or technologically advanced. Humans were dangerous because they refused to surrender. And sometimes that's all it takes to change the universe.